Good morning, Quilt Roadies. Thank you for stopping by. If you are new to the channel, this is a channel about quilting, stitching, life, books, movies, a little bit of everything. I especially have something wonderful this episode because my friend Cheryl and I were able to attend the Festival of Quilts. And this is presented by the Northwest Quilters Guild. I'm going to, at the end of this video, there will be a walk around of the quilts. But truly, I have to say, that show was spectacular. I guess I didn't, I'm like an everyday quilter, I'm throwing together quilts for family and grandchildren and not really thinking in terms of artistic creations, maybe. And that's the thing about quilting, is that it is a art form that provides satisfaction for whatever type of quilter you are, or whatever your quilting journey is. And this show was, it is worth traveling to see this show. It's a 2-day show held in Hillsboro at an absolutely lovely venue. I can't say enough about it. And after I'm done talking, you're like, please stop talking. After I'm done talking, there'll be a clip of me walking around the quilt show. And they had a nice vendor mall. I know, like I needed a vendor mall. And I did find something at the vendor mall. So what I can tell you is that one of the most heartwarming stories for me happened at this quilt show about a Japanese quilter, and I will be writing and posting photographs on my blog spot because I took some pictures, close-up pictures. She passed away, but her son and daughter-in-law were there with her quilts as representative, and I'm telling you, don't we all want our family to just love our quilts that much? And all of these quilts, extraordinary quilts, were hand quilted, yes, and applique, and a lot of them had kimono fabrics used along with cotton fabrics. It was absolutely a spectacular exhibit, and so you'll see some close-up photos on my blog spot, and I'll put a link in the drop-down box, which is when you just below the title of this video. You'll see, I think it says more ... and if you click on that, I put links in there for things I think you might be interested in. And I surely would appreciate if you would not only subscribe to this channel, but subscribe to the blog. It is a totally different way of me pushing out the love of crafting and quilting and stitching and all of that. It's in written form, and I have committed to writing at least once a week. The process of that is so good for my soul. But Cheryl and I went to the quilt show, and neither of us was disappointed. I'm actually toying with the idea. Now, the Quilt Guild not only has a daytime meeting, it has a nighttime meeting for those who are working, and it has continued on with the Zoom meeting. And with those three options, boy, I'm really toying with the idea of, because I was just so moved by all the beautiful quilts, and the group is, you know, and I remember, here I'm babbling a little bit, but I remember a friend of mine on the other side of the mountain that I used to stitch with, Suzette, always talked very fondly of this guild. And yeah, so it's very tempting. I might have to, and I'll put a link, because the whole Zoom thing, I know a lot of people are so, in fact, we had sat down at a table with and we're having a little drink and snack, and a lady we were sitting with was an IT specialist in her working life, and said she was never going to join a Zoom meeting ever, but I kind of have embraced it. Because I tend to be a homebody. I tend to be a homebody. Also, okay, so there was all of the different quilts in their different categories, but one of the unusual, just unusual things that I came across at this show was a table that was set up to showcase buttons. Now, I had no idea. I just laughed and enjoyed the company of the three women that were manning this table for the Oregon Button Society. I'm here to tell you, I had no clue. I actually, I mean, I was like, what the heck? And they were like 110% into buttons. And they had them displayed in frames. Beautiful, beautiful buttons. And not only could talk about the beauty of the buttons, but the historical time period that the buttons came out of. I tell you, I am going to look at buttons entirely differently. I looked at them as a way to contain the girls, but no, they have far more value in a frame. And just to let you know that in Portland, I love Portland. It is such an environment of art, all kinds of art, art in public spaces, every kind of artistic endeavor is supported in this community. And so in August, here in Portland, August 11th and 12th, is the National Button Society Convention. I tell you, I'm looking at buttons totally differently. And like Cheryl said, she has a lot of her grandmother's buttons, and she said, I think I'm going to, you know, sew them and frame them together. I mean, yeah. Well, you know how we can go down another rabbit hole. And yeah, so save the date, August 11th and 12th, the National Button Society Convention in Portland, Oregon. Yeah. They had a very sweet vendor mall, and I saw this panel. I saw this panel, and I thought, I'm going to make that for my grandson, because I love steampunk, and this panel is by qtfabrics.com, and it had an elephant, it was an elephant steampunk panel. So I bought that panel. Isn't he fantastic? Yeah. And I said, well, I better get some complimentary fabric for him. So I did buy a couple of yards of border type fabric, you know. So there we go. Ever since G and I went to the steampunk convention in outside of Tucson, Arizona, I have very much embraced that whole genre. I have loved that. But the vendor mall was truly amazing. There was embroidery. There was a Tupperware booth, and Tupperware does not look like it used to, let me tell you. But fabric, there were some long arm vendors there. They had a nice, achievable, enjoyable vendor mall. They did. I do have to take this moment to give a public service announcement. I have on my other channel, and I can't figure out how this is occurring, got hit by some scammers, in which on a channel where I am gifting something, I don't know how they're finding out that that's occurring, unless there is some kind of algorithm that looks for specific wording in my speaking voice, because I never type that I'm doing that. I am never typing that. And know that when I do that, I never email whoever is being gifted. I always have G put a flyer at the end of the video. So the only thing, and I mean, it was so disheartening, and it almost makes you just want to throw in the towel, but we cannot let these people win. We cannot let them win. But the only, and I can't imagine that they would listen to an entire video or podcast to see if there's this going on. So there has to be some algorithm that is picking up specific words. And then that, I almost said a bad word. But you know what I was thinking, don't you? When that blankety blank starts texting everybody and saying that, yeah, this email me for your gift. You know what I'm talking about. I'm trying not to use any of the tag words. Don't do it. It takes me a little bit of time that, you know, I really don't have a lot of extra time. But luckily for me, there are people that have your back, and I get an email alert or a text alert, oh, I got this message. And then I have to go back in and click on all of those comments and let YouTube know that there's harassing going on, and then block them from the channel. And I tell you, sometimes it's just downright depressing, you know, because really all we want to do is have some fun. And I'm saying all this because the Fat Quarter Shop today is sharing a $35 voucher to their shop. So what I'm going to say is that anyone who comments on this particular podcast will be in that YouTube random generator. Now that was a long roundabout way to say, watch out, watch out, and please keep commenting. It does make my day, and to hear what you're up to and what you're quilting on. I mean, it really is a two-way street, these podcasts. we're not just, none of us are just doing it for whatever, you know. There's a connection being made, and it's as satisfying for me as it might be for you watching. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, and leaving a comment. And the reason Fat Quarter Shop is, I'm excited about this. This year's color for me was blue. It is not a color that, my blue stash is very, very small. It's not a color that, I've always gravitated towards the red, orange, pinks. But I decided for whatever reason, blue was going to be it. And I saw this line of fabric, French General fabric, which I think, you know, I'm usually doing the red French General. I love the French General red. But this was blue. And I said, well, my color is blue. And and I have a quilt retreat coming up in April, in which I want to take a couple of actual piecing projects. And I decided this was going to be one of them. So this was sent by the Fat Quarter Shop. I've never used a Jolly Bar before, so I'm excited about this. But it's Moda fabric, bleu de France. I mean, it's like a Jolly Bar is like like a charm pack double, a double charm pack, you know. But this is the quilt that the pattern comes included in this kit. So you get the Jolly Bar and the pattern, and then the fabrics that you need to make that quilt. And that is going to be one of the quilts that I take in April to quilt retreat. Fabric Stalker Quilt Retreat. I'm very excited about that. Now I have two quilts that are going to be cut up and ready to just piece. Normally, the last couple years when I've gone to quilt retreat, I've had like handwork the entire time. And now I have two pieced quilts because I need to be, you know, I don't want that skill set to get rusty, if you know what I mean. I also am very excited because Kathy Schmitz. Oh, I just have to go get my little Ruth. Hold on a second. Here, just look at what's behind here. So I finished Ruth. Now, Ruth went to Palm Springs with me and was absolutely the perfect travel project. She went in a Yazzie bag, had all the called for threads, and so now I'm going to be working on Chester. And the reason I was drawn to this whole project, where I picked up all of the different animal couples, was because of a story that I'm going to share with you from my childhood. I remember when I was little, my mom would put out a nativity scene at Christmas, and I would spend hours playing with it, where Mary was pushing the manger around like a stroller, and I would just be totally in my own world, and I'd be talking and all of that. And a few weeks ago, I saw my middle grandson playing with some coasters and some things on a bottom shelf of a couch table. And he must have spent a good hour just talking and imagining. And although he's getting to that age where he might grow out of that a little bit more, his little brother is just going to be coming into that. And I just had this intense desire to make the whole set and put them in a bowl on that bottom shelf so that my grandson would play with them. I tell you, I felt like the Grinch whose heart grew 10 times when I thought of this, because I could just imagine. I could just imagine it. So next comes Chester. And Kathy said, don't print them out way far ahead of time. So I only printed Ruth and Chester. And once I get them done, then I'll do the next two. Because over time, the ink does fade. And the instructions for construction, perfect. Perfect, perfect. And worked, you know, instructions for me are kind of like, So the fact that it went together so well. Oh, isn't she just adorable? She is just adorable. Yeah. And Kathy's coming out with a new book that, you know, you can pre-order it now, and you must. I don't say must very often, but that book, it's amazing. It's going to be amazing. It's going to rock not only the stitching world, but it's going to rock the cross-stitch world too. What else can I share with you before we get on to the quilt show? Let's see. Oh, May 15th. May 15th, Cheryl and I are going to be, not May. What am I talking about, May? That's so crazy. March 15th. This week is going to be wool stitching day at Pioneer Quilts. So if you're interested at all in stitching on wool, and I don't know if the class is filled up, the stitch day is filled up, but go on to the website, and I hope we see some of you there, because I need to be stitching my wool. Yeah, I hope that I covered everything I wanted to cover. So know that everyone here who comments, the Fat Quarter Shop is showing amazing generosity. So please leave a comment. Please be a subscriber. Yeah, I am COVID negative, which is awesome, although G is not quite yet, so we don't get to have our grandson day today, which is, oh, I can't wait till that's, I think that's the worst part of it. That's the worst part of it, is the isolation. But I tested yesterday so I could see if I could go to the quilt show or not, and yahoo! Yahoo! Okay, enjoy the quilt show. It's amazing, and be sure you go over to the Woolly Mammoth blog spot for the full story on those beautiful Japanese quilts. Love you guys. Hope your life is going well and that you're quilting away. Where are we headed, Cheryl?
The quilt show!
The quilt show! Let's go!